Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Amber and today is another true crime video. And today's video is very special. Today's video is sponsored by June's Journey. I don't know if you guys have heard of this game, but it is amazing. I love it. I play it in my off time on my phone, and it's awesome because it's available on your iPhone, Android, iOS, or whatever you want to call it, tablet. It's amazing. So June's Journey is really cool. It's a hidden object mystery game. So it's perfect for my channel because Amber loves mystery, and it's set in the 1920s. And like a lot of things in life that I love, it's free. And it's free for mobile devices and tablets. The object of this game is pretty simple, as you can see on the screen. Basically, you get to go into each of these beautifully crafted scenes, and obviously each level is a surprise, and it's a new scene, it's beautiful, it's stunning, and all you have to do is look for hidden objects. And each new scene will take you further into a thrilling murder mystery. And basically, it's the mystery of who killed June's sister. And she has to discover other hidden family secrets. So as you go through each level, you get closer to finding out the truth to who murdered June's sister. So it's a murder mystery, hence the reason it is so appropriate to be a sponsor for my channel. And if you guys are interested in checking out June's Journey, please check out the link down below. It will be the first link in the description box, as well as a pinned comment in the comment section, so you can find it with ease. Again, it's free, it's so fun. So again, thank you so much, June's Journey, for sponsoring today's video, and let's get right into today's content. So today's video is another true crime video, but this is going to be a little bit different. So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing a very brutal case. And as you can read by the title, this is the case of the Watts family. But I'm not necessarily going to be discussing the case as in what the evil Chris Watts did to his wife, 2 children, and his unborn child. I more or less want to first cover what I think about Nichol Kessinger and her police interrogation tapes. As with every video, you guys, in every case, I am talking about this with the utmost respect to the victims and their families. Obviously, this is a very, very, very recent case. It is a tragedy. It shook America. I know it shook the world. Anyone that heard about this case was just heartbroken. Any human being that heard about this case was heartbroken. I mean, I avoided it for the longest time because I just knew the more details I knew, the worse it would hit home, the harder it would hit home, and obviously it did. And obviously it's nothing compared to what Shanann and Bella and Cece and Nico went through, but as an outsider looking in, I avoided even absorbing any of this case for my own interest. Like I always just avoided it, and you guys requested it so much, so like I said, I started to look into it, and here we are. Please know that anything I say is just an opinion. It's not a fact. Research your own facts. If you have questions, fact check for yourself. I highly encourage everybody to do your own fact checking. Even if someone says this is absolute truth, double check it for yourself. You never know if someone is mistaken, someone has a motive, if they're lying, whatever. So please keep that in mind. This is just what I gathered listening to Nichol Kessinger's interviews after learning about the case. Also, you guys, I hate that I have to say this because I think it should go without saying that a YouTube video entails talking, but this is going to be a definite more talkative video, if that makes sense. This is honestly me telling you guys what I think about her interrogation tapes. So it's a lot of talking, a lot of musing, a lot of guessing, coming to different conclusions, that sort of thing. So if you're not into that, maybe this video is not one for you, and you can check out my mystery video playlist that is in the description box if you are curious to watch a different video. So the way today's video came about is I had gotten a ton of requests to cover the tragedy of the Watts family case. Basically, what that terrible monster Chris Watts did to his wife Shanann, his daughters Cece and Bella, and his unborn son Nico in Frederick, Colorado. On August 13th, 2018, he murdered his entire family. And so obviously you guys know what this case is. This case has been in the media pretty heavily. I got so many requests to cover it, so I asked you guys, I did a ton of polls, and every time over 95% of you voted yes. So I always want to cover cases that you guys want to see, but I also want to cover cases that aren't as popular, that are older cases, that are less known, and obviously I do those cases as well. If you want a list of my videos, you can always look at the playlist down below. They're always available to you. But as I started looking more into this case, I started listening to the interrogations of Nichol Kessinger. Now, I had started to get comments about a person named NK on the videos of me asking if you guys wanted me to cover the Watts family case. And I think it was either in my comments on Instagram or here on YouTube, but someone said something about NK, and I was like, who is NK? Who's NK? And everyone in the comments was like, Nichol Kessinger, Nichol Kessinger. Honestly, I had never sat down and watched an entire video on the case or an entire report or anything, because the case was just, obviously, as you guys know, it's so brutal and so sad. I can tell you for a fact, every time I hear the story retold, the harrowing details, I cry. I can't tell you how many times I've cried researching this case, listening to videos, listening to interviews. Just, it honestly splits my heart. And I began to research the case because I obviously didn't know the entire story. I knew there was a brutal crime. I knew it involved children, which broke my heart, and I knew it involved a very deceitful man named Chris Watts. So I began to research this case more. And I will tell you, I'm going to cover the case. I'm going to cover this case in its entirety, as I typically do these videos. But I wanted to start off this case by first looking into the mistress, because obviously we know Chris Watts admitted to guilt. I'm going to cover this case in a future video, but today's video I want to focus more on Nichol Kessinger. And the reason for that is because while I was researching the Watts family case, I came across Nichol Kessinger's interrogation tapes and the videos and whatnot. And then it clicked in my head. I was like, oh, this is the woman that the people in my comments were referring to, NK, Nichol Kessinger. So I grew curious, and I had watched basically so many or every single Watts family coverage that I could find online, and I had avoided the Nichol Kessinger tapes. And then I was like, okay, wait a second, I recognize that name. So I decided to watch and listen to hers. And as I was listening to the first interrogation, I had some very strong thoughts. I had some very strong feelings, so much so I was listening to it while I was driving because it didn't have video. I was just listening to her interview, the very first one, which it's just audio. And I had such strong feelings that I literally pulled over and I grabbed my phone and I started making notes. And I had to do this a few times. And then after my interest got piqued, I just finished it at home. Obviously, I didn't drive for that many hours. The videos are very, very long. But I started listening to her interview on February 2nd, 2009. Literally, you can see it. My notes, I don't know if you can see right here. February 2nd, 2009. February 2nd, 2019. What the heck? I first got extremely disturbed at 3 minutes and 22 seconds. So basically, as soon as I made a note about that, I was like, okay, this is interesting, right? So far, she's the mistress. She's not arrested. She's not in trouble per se. Chris Watts has been sentenced, blah, blah, blah. But as I continued to listen to her interviews, and then when she came back in for a second interview, I made a lot of notes, and I have some very strong feelings. And so basically that's what this video is about, because I am so curious to discuss this part of the case with you guys, because I kind of feel like a lot of you, and some of you may have already mentioned this in the comments, but it didn't click in my head because at the time I had no idea who Nichol Kessinger was. Like, you can go back in my comments. I literally had no idea. So, also because I kept getting Shanann's friend Nicole, is it Nikki or Nicole? Nicole confused with Nichol Kessinger. I thought they were one person. I did not know that there was two. So I have a feeling that a lot of you guys are going to come to the same hypothesis or theory that I have about her. And I don't have a concrete one, but man, she says some really questionable things in these interviews. Obviously, we're not going to go over the interrogation tapes minute by minute because that would just take way too long. I mean, I would be down to maybe someday do that, where we do like a live stream and we watch someone else's interrogation or whatever. But this one, obviously, I just decided to make notes when I thought it was plausible. So like I said, the very first time I made notes was at 3 minutes and 22 seconds. So obviously, I'm going to play you the part that caught my ear, I should say, and then what I said.
Did he mention the children's name or his significant other's name?
I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. And then I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick, but to be honest with you, on an exact date of when that happened, I don't know.
So I feel like she lied about Chris Watts telling her the name of his significant other. And the way I figured that out is because she gave too much information and she tried to deflect attention from herself and the question. I feel like a simple yes he did or no he didn't, or yes he eventually did, or no he didn't right away, or no he never did, or yes he did. I feel like she could have responded to it in so many different ways and not sounded as guilty as I feel like she sounded in that interview. So in my opinion, I felt like she was trying to distract the investigator, and I feel like Nichol Kessinger is the type of person that thinks she's smarter than everyone else in the room, including police officers, detectives, FBI, CBI, whatever, you name it. I feel like she thinks she's the smartest and most clever person in the room, no matter who she's talking to. So that's building upon the character that I am putting together for Nichol Kessinger in my head. She is not very emotional. There's only, I think, one part, maybe once in each interview where I think she kind of shows a little bit of sadness and it seems like she's crying, but she snaps out of it so fast. Like, she sounds like she's hysterical and then just like snaps out of it. And let me tell you, from the most emotional person I know, myself, that's not real emotion. I feel like she was feigning emotion and she didn't even do it enough. She barely even did it. And it's like, I don't know, it stuck out to me so bad. Her behavior during the entire thing was so weird to me. But it's important for me to let you guys know, it's not because she's the mistress. I did not judge her because she's the mistress at all. That's not what I care about. That's not what I think is important. Obviously it's important, but you know what I mean? A lot of the times she just talked, and some people talk when they're nervous. There's a difference, I feel like, between someone who just talks a lot because they're a talker, or someone who is scrambling.
So much.
You like to talk, I can tell a little bit.
Yeah.
You're a talker, so I'm letting you talk.
And I feel like she scrambled a lot, but also she was very callous. I almost feel like she had this narrative in her head. I feel like she had rehearsed some of these answers. And I feel like some of the questions did take her aback. There was even a couple times in the second interview. Was it the second interview? No, it was the first one. And I think her dad was with her. I believe her father was with her. And there were some questions where he would like interrupt and say, can you please stop saying this? You're leading, you're leading, you're leading.
Would that have changed anything? Like you just said, if I knew his wife was pregnant, I wouldn't be in this picture. So if his wife was not pregnant, and forgive me, but if he takes her out of the picture, you're never going to know that she was pregnant, right?
What do you mean takes her out of the picture? Like,
if he murdered her, she's out of the picture. You're never going to know if she was pregnant. if he can get away with murder, you're not going to... I got divorced from my wife. You see, do you understand what I'm saying here? If she's gone...
But this...
Don't lead.
Hypothetically.
Please. Don't lead on.
Hypothetically. If she...
Okay.
You understand where I'm going. If
right,
you didn't know...
You're leading into
right.
questions that are nothing with your...
If you didn't know, though...
Wait, Nick.
That she was there.
Did you hear what I said?
I'm following you. I just want her to answer a question.
And I'm like, this is not a jury trial. This is not in front of a judge. This is an interview you wanted to go to. You agreed to. You willingly walked into this interview as a witness. Not as a person of interest, not as the perpetrator, as a witness, as a willing witness, right? So the fact that she went there with her dad was strange to me. Like, why? I don't know. Like, what? The police aren't going to do anything to you. I don't know what she was thinking. Maybe the dad said, I'm going no matter what, you're my child. So that could be the case. Who knows? Obviously, I don't know, so I'm not going to act like I do. But outsider looking in, I think it's weird. I made notes again at 6:22.
Take us through kind of a little bit of the early part of how he courted you or you courted him. I don't know which one happened. How you guys got to know each other.
I guess we just started talking. He actually, so part of my job is to manage the gas monitors that we have. So Anadarko requires all of their field personnel to carry like gas monitor sensors for toxic gases, and it's my job to control all the inventory, any issues, anything like that. And we were having some pretty serious like equipment issues, and we had numerous amounts of people coming in my office one day, and he happened to be one of them. And I'd seen him before, like they meet in the lunchroom, and that's where I go put my lunch in the fridge. So I'd seen him, but I didn't ever like talk to him. So that day we just started talking, and then every time I saw him in the hallway after that, and it was always hit or miss, like it wasn't an everyday thing, it was just when I saw him, we just started talking, and we just kind of had a lot in common and just hit it off, so we'd always have, you know, pretty good conversations. And then, I don't know, one day he told me that he had kids and started talking about his kids, and then mentioned, yes, that I have a wife, but we're getting separated. I said, okay.
Okay, before I tell you what I wrote in my little notepad, I have to tell you that I have to go to voice over for some of this because I lost some of my clips. I lost about 30 minutes of the clips of me with my hair up because I had gotten hot or whatever, and so I only have 40 seconds, this 40-second clip of me with my hair up. That doesn't even make sense. It's kind of like ratchet. So yeah, sorry. In my iPhone notes, I wrote, she's also lying at 6:22 because they're asking her when they first met or how they first met, that sort of thing. And instead of just answering, she's first giving her job description, which nobody asked for. Plus, I'm sure they already knew. Then she's also saying that he didn't tell her he had kids right away or a spouse, but she also keeps changing the present tense and past tense, and also first person and third person. So that's not necessarily a sure proof example that she's lying, but it definitely does indicate deception because she can't keep her thoughts straight. So it seems like she's trying to create memories that don't exist, or she's changing the memories that exist. So she goes from saying things like, the sentence where she changes perspectives, she said, he told me he had kids, and then mentioned, yes, I have a wife. And instead of saying it that way, she could have kept with the point and just said, he told me he had kids and also a wife. I don't know, it's just weird that she keeps changing perspectives. I don't know if it's gonna make sense what I'm trying to say. And then he told me about his kids, and oh yeah, we're getting a divorce. So basically she was talking as if she was repeating the story from Chris's point of view in third person and then in the first person. I'm not really sure how to gather my thoughts right now, but basically that's what she's doing. She just keeps going back and forth from a different tense, and that is one indication of deception. I wrote in my notes, basically, I know this because of psychology. Hello. Basically, you can tell when someone's being deceptive because their thoughts just aren't concise. Like when they're trying to retell a memory, it seems like she's trying to reframe it in her mind to fit what she thinks they want to hear rather than what actually happened, if that makes sense. So she's digging in the wrong part of her brain. Memories and creativity are on separate sides of your brain. So she's going to the creativity part of her brain rather than the memory part of her brain, and that is making her distort tenses points of view, that sort of thing. I hope that makes sense. The next part we're going to examine is at 11:33 in the first interview.
Not looking for exact words, just more, let's say 6 weeks ago he said something that triggered with you last night. That's what I'd be looking for. Or something 4 weeks ago. And if you don't remember where it was or the specific words, that doesn't matter. Just he said something that was off the wall, or he said this or he said that, that has caused you a moment to pause and you go, wow, I wonder why he said that. Now knowing what you know today. Do you understand where I'm going with that?
I completely understand. And to be honest with you, I mean, there were several discussions that we had about his current relationship and where it had gone and what it had caused. And he talked about his kids from time to time. But the thing was, is he was never hostile. It was never anything aggressive. Like, even when he spoke of his wife and the fact that they were separating, it was never, like, ill. It was still very kind. It was just like, this is not working, you know, and would explain why, but it wasn't anything out of the ordinary or anything that I think would scare me. And to this day, even after everything that I found out, I still look back at that and I don't see any red lights with the way that he spoke of his family.
So this mention is kind of small. Basically, she mixed up the term he showed no red flags, and instead she said red lights. And you could tell she caught herself because she had a pause, and then she kind of finished her sentence. But the reason I find this weird, I mean, it's not uncommon for us to mess up our words or whatever, but the reason I find this weird is because this is during the questioning of whether or not Chris had shown any anger towards his family or anything that she could look back on and say, you know what, that could have been weird. Possibly that day he was motivated to kill his family, or he started thinking about it, or whatever. But like I said, I feel like she's being deceptive, and that's why she's messing up her words. She's going on run-on sentences. She's not answering the questions the correct way, in my opinion. Again, I'm not in her shoes, but does that make sense? Anyways, it stood out for me enough to make a note in my phone. So nothing that crazy happens from the last clip till about 1 hour and something into the interview, the interrogation. And I feel like I have to include a very lengthy clip. It's about 4 minutes, but it kind of illustrates the context of her answer and why I think it's important and why I think she slipped up. Basically, she's trying to paint Shanann in a bad light, in my opinion, even though she tries to say that, oh, this is third party, and she blames it on Chris. But I feel like she slips up because in the beginning of the interview, and I will show you a clip in a minute of that, but in the beginning, she said she had no idea that Chris had a pregnant wife.
I had a conversation with Chris at some point during the day on Monday, and on Tuesday, because of what you found, specifically what you said was, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but you found out that his wife was pregnant.
And yes.
And you did not know that prior?
No.
And you found that out via the newspaper articles, and that caused you concern?
She knew about the 2 girls, but she did not know about Nico, according to her. Well, in this clip, she says something about Shanann telling Chris's parents that they're not going to see them anymore or the baby. And the only baby there is the baby in her stomach. Do you know what I mean? She had 2 like toddlers. So again, I don't know if she's combining her present knowledge of the baby with her past knowledge of just the 2 girls. And again, she's not working from actual memory. She's trying to create memories. Do you know what I mean? So, and possibly she's confusing things and that's why she said baby. Or if she indeed did slip up and she was aware of a baby during her relationship with Chris and lied to investigators about it. I don't know. I want you guys to listen. Like I said, it's about 4 minutes, but it's important for context. And I want you guys to let me know what you think about her response or her summation of the story that allegedly Chris told her.
Well, let me reverse something. Your conversation with the children, or about the children, was there ever talk about medical concerns with either of the children?
Well, I know Cece is allergic to not peanuts, like pine nuts. Pine nuts.
So she has a nut allergy?
Yes.
Did they take meds?
I know that she had, like, an EpiPen, but as far as I know, she didn't have any meds, but I never asked. Like, I was just told, like, she has a pretty severe allergy. And
enough to carry an EpiPen, that's pretty severe.
Yeah, while we're on this, so when he was in North Carolina, this is all, like, hearsay now because it's, like, this is not a conversation. Like, he's telling me this stuff, but who knows exactly what happened. But he went out there to go see his family and her family. And while he was in town, before he went out to North Carolina, I guess his mother had accidentally, like, not exposed her to something with nuts, but had, like, given a product, I think it was, like, ice cream, to a different kid that could have traces of nuts or something. I don't know. But it was, like, his daughter was fine, but she was, like, in the range of contamination. And I think his wife was very upset about that. And when he got to North Carolina, he told me that he was supposed to spend, like, half time with them, half the time with her family, and that was supposed to be what it was. I don't know. But he said that he went to go see his family, and they weren't answering the phone for, like, a day or two before he went out there. And then when he got there, there was a note on the door that said, son, if you step by, we're at the beach. And they ignored him for, like, most of the time that he was out there. And
his own family?
Yes. His mom, his dad, and
Wait,
his sister.
What's the significance? Do you know why?
Yeah, he said, and again, I don't know what is true with this man anymore and what's not, but he told me that, like, leading up to it, I was like, well, why are your folks, like, ignoring you? And I was, like, really concerned about this. Like, every single day he would talk to me when he was out there, and I was like, you talked to your family today? You talked to your family today? Did you talk to your dad? What happened? Did you talk to him? No, I didn't. Or, yeah, I talked to my mom. Well, what'd she say? Are you going to hang out with him? Like, I wanted him to see his people because it's important. Family is an important thing. You know, it just needs to function properly. And,
sure.
And so I was like, well, and he was like, well, they're ignoring me. And I was like, what do you think happened? And he was like, I'm not really sure, but I think something was said between my wife and them during that incident. And he's like, because every time that happened nuts. Before he got there, yes. And he's like, because every time that I try to, I talk about possibly going over there to see if they're home, she gets upset about it. And I was like, okay. And he told me that his mom and his wife did not get along at all. He said that his mom didn't even show up to his wedding because she's, like, really did not care for Shanann. So, again, I don't know what's true and what's not, but I just know that there was, like, some tension there. Mm-hmm. And, again, like, that part is, like, I feel like it's almost third party, so that's why it's like I didn't even bring it up. Well,
but it came from him to you, so it's not. It is something that whether it's important or not, we can validate that. I'm sure we will be having some conversations with family.
And they told him, supposedly, that she had gotten really upset and then screamed and yelled in front of Chris's sister's kids that are very young, and to his mom and to his dad, and said, like, you're never going to see Chris again, you're never going to see me, you're never going to see the baby, and just, like, threatened them, and then, like, walked off. And I guess that was the incident that happened prior to him coming out there, and then she didn't tell him about it. Mm-hmm. She just, like, let it go, and then he just spent all week trying to figure out why his family was, like, not trying to be involved.
Gotcha.
So again, I'm not sure. That was, like, it just feels really third party. So
I don't know, you guys. To me, it sounds pretty clear, and I feel like that proves she's a liar, but who knows? She could have been flustered, whatever. I want to know what you guys think about that. So the final thing that I want to mention about this interview, well, a couple things. Her alibi, the day that Chris committed those terrible murders of his family, and also her house guest and how she is so protective of him and was basically begging, I think it's the FBI or the CBI not to contact him, even though he could have proven that she was where she was. Also, I forgot to mention, she deleted nearly every single text message that Chris had ever sent her. And she tried to convince the authorities, you know, these people asking her these questions, that she did not do it to try and omit evidence in the case. She did it when she found out that Chris had lied to her, and she did it because she wanted to make as much space between her and Chris, I guess, a sort of cleansing of him. So she thought it was a great idea to delete everything from her phone you know, during a murder investigation.
Do you know what he did Sunday during the day?
I don't even know what I did on Sunday during the day. I am so tired. Let me just think about this. Daniel came over Friday. I hung out with him Saturday. And then Sunday...
When did Jim come in?
Monday.
Huh.
Jim got here Monday. What did I do on Sunday? I am like drawing a blank. I'm really tired. I don't know. Can I get back to you on that?
Did you guys have any conversations on Saturday night during your meal, what he might be doing on Sunday?
I'm sure we did. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank because I haven't slept.
If I say that he may have done something with his children, would that refresh
yes.
your memory?
He went to a birthday party.
Okay.
We went to the museum on what day? Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Okay.
That's right. So that's what I was like, was I hanging out with you? God.
Very memorable event, huh?
Me and him and my stepmother and my sister went to the museum. And that's right, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. And they went to brunch prior to that, and I skipped brunch. And I went to the gym.
You shouldn't have. It was good.
I had to do core day. That was the last time I worked out, actually.
That's what we did Sunday, okay.
Yeah, so core day, and then we went to the museum, and then...
So Sunday night, or Sunday during the day, you had your own personal stuff going on with your family. You never see him on Sunday, is that accurate?
No, I didn't see him. What did I do the rest of the day? I came home. I think I might have just chilled at my house. I don't remember. I think I cleaned my house. I don't know. I didn't see him, though.
Okay. And
yeah, Saturday was the last time I saw him.
Okay. Sunday, you're at home. You talk to him. We know you have a conversation in the late evening hours, and then you go to sleep on Sunday night. When's the next time you talk with Chris?
Probably Monday morning. I got home to go meet my buddy. One of my good friends was coming over my house, and he actually has a key to my house, so he was actually there when I got there. And
who's that?
My friend Jim. And so Jim came over, and I got home. He was there. He had like just walked in the door. Like I was literally
he knows certainly through the media that something's occurred.
Yeah, he's like out of town. He's probably has no idea. He doesn't know who Chris is. Like he's not. I do not know.
So he's just a friend of yours.
Yes. He does not need to be dragged
into
into this.
Coming to your apartment and doesn't know anything about Chris. Does he know anything about Chris?
No, nothing. Absolutely not.
We've known Jim for
years
and years.
Yeah.
You're not dating him or anything like that?
No, he's my very good friends. Like, my dad knows him. He's a great guy. He works out of state a lot, so when he's in town, we hang out. But when he's in town and he's off of work, to save time, so I give him a key to my house, one, because I trust him and he's one of my best friends, and two, because sometimes he will just meet me there, because I'll be like, hey, I'm getting off of work, and then if I get stuck in traffic or something, he ends up like sitting outside of my apartment waiting for me to get off of work. So I'm like, here's a key, and like my dog loves him and stuff. So no, he's not involved with it. Yes, I don't even want him dragged into this.
And I'm not really concerned about your location. I think we already have your cell phone records. At some point, did Mark ask you to supply? Did they ask for consent to get cell phone records? That'll probably be done by warrant. If
Isn't
we wanted,
that what you just did?
Nope. What I'm talking about is your movement.
Oh.
By GPS or by cell phone tower to show where you were. Obviously, and I don't want to cause you concern, we want to know where you were that day too. You're dating a man who did some egregious stuff, and we want to show that you were never near him that day. Period.
I mean, you guys can track my stuff.
No, I mean that was something we will have to get a warrant for, anyways. If we asked for it, would you have any objections to that?
No, you can have it.
So,
I'm a pretty boring person.
Well,
I don't
it sounds
go
like
too
you
many
just
places.
went to work that day, and then you came home, and you were there at 3:45.
Yeah, like give or take like 5 minutes, but yeah, so 3:45, I meet Jim there. Yeah.
Jim is understand from an investigative point, he could be a person who could say, yeah, I was there at 3:45. He doesn't know Chris. He doesn't know anything. He could say with one phone call, yeah, she came in at 3:45. Done.
Totally.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't have to ask anything more than, hi, Chris, my name's Kevin. Or Jim. And I'm not saying you have to give it to Jim.
Just leave Jim alone. Jim does not need to be wrapped up in this.
If at some point I needed Jim's info to, let's say we couldn't find your phone records. Would you tell me who Jim was? You can have them.
I will give them to you.
Would you tell me who Jim was if I couldn't?
If you had to. I don't really want to involve him in this. That is not fair to him.
In the interest of saving some time, because I just saw how long this video is and I've only covered the very first interview, I'm going to save the second interview for another video if you guys want me to cover it. But I will say there's really not that much interesting information that you learn from her in the second interview. Honestly, I feel like the real meat and potatoes is in the first interview. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. But I do want to know what you guys think about her alibi and how her dad kind of jumped in there, you know, like came to her rescue, basically fed her the alibi. I thought that was a little weird. And I think it's so strange that she will not give the authorities his... I find it curious that she refuses to tell them who Jim is. Why is she so secretive of him? That makes zero sense to me. Obviously, she knows like what media shitstorm is about to hit her, because she does mention that throughout the interview a lot. She mentions like witness protection, and they kind of laugh like, you know, you don't really need witness protection. You're probably not going to need that. But they were very nice to her. They did offer her counseling. If you have time, if you're doing stuff around your house, if you are curious about this case, it wouldn't hurt to play her interviews in the background. But just know they're each like 2 hours long or whatever, so it's a lot of time. But, you know, I found some interesting things in there that I did not hear from any of the videos that I had watched on YouTube regarding this case. I also made a note in my phone that I felt like she lacked a lot of empathy. Basically, I wrote she seemed like she was completely void of empathy, even though she had small moments where she was crying. They didn't seem very sincere. So that's pretty much all I have in my phone about the first tape. I honestly had no bias. Just because Nichol Kessinger was the mistress, I didn't immediately hate her. I feel like I can understand, because I'm a very empathetic person, I can understand a situation or different situations where people have cheated. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right, but everybody has their own reasons. Everybody has their own necessities. Everybody has their own just reasonings, whatever. And we don't know what's going on in someone else's head and heart, right? And a lot of people believe you can't help who you fall in love with. I don't know. So I did not immediately go into this case thinking, oh, Nichol Kessinger's the mistress. I hate her. I hate her. No. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I was just kind of interested. I just wanted to know, what part did she play in this case? Did she have any knowledge about it? Where was she at when this awful murder occurred? Had she texted Chris? Had she spoke to him? Were they on the phone? Were they together? Like, I just wanted to know so many things. I kind of wanted to get a sense of her attitude, what type of woman she is. And obviously, nobody is going to act perfect talking to investigators, regardless of the situation. Whether it's a police officer trailing behind your car and you're following all the rules, you're going the speed limit, your seatbelt's on, your lights are on, whatever, turn signals, you still get that like almost like a rush, but like an anxiety rush feeling. You still get that nervous feeling until you see them leave, them make a turn or stop someone else or switch lanes, whatever it is. At least I do. I feel like that's a common thing. Or, you know, an authoritative figure is typically someone that makes other people nervous, whether or not they're guilty. It's just something. Unless you're like a type A personality and then you are literally the boss in any room you walk into. That's not really me, quite frankly. I was curious to see what kind of person Nichol Kessinger was. Now, I can definitely say, probably without a doubt, in my opinion, she's not like me. She's not like the person that gets nervous with authority. She seemed very type A personality, which led me to further questions. If this woman is so just like, you know, like just the way she speaks, she's authoritative, I would say. She's bold, brazen, and none of these are bad descriptors. Just so you know, if you are any of these things, it doesn't mean you're bad. I just try to put it all together and into a cohesive thought and feeling, knowing that it has to do with a murder case. Does that make sense? Like, for lack of a better words, she was not a wallflower. And I was extremely curious how she would react with the investigators, especially learning that she herself went down there. What kind of woman was Chris Watts attracted to? Because we see who Shanann was. And obviously, we're going to talk about Shanann, Bella, Stacey, and Nico in the video that is about, you know, their family, how they met, etc., etc., what led to their horrific death. Murder, I should say. Shanann is obviously also not a wallflower, in my opinion. She was like a go-getter, hard worker, confident. But I did watch some videos that Shanann had posted on her social media, and she had said that she wasn't always confident. Basically working with Thrive and all the other women, like basically it brought out her confidence. I just thought Nichol seemed to be quite the opposite way that I would imagine someone would be acting, someone who had just learned that their boyfriend, who was married, had just slaughtered his entire family, including the unborn child that I quote, did not know about. I don't feel like, in my opinion, she was acting the way that I would imagine someone in that position would be acting. Whether or not she had processed the situation, whether or not, you know, she was innocent, I still feel like she'd be acting a certain way, and she wasn't. And I don't mean like one shade. I don't mean like one exclusive way. I just mean like, I just feel like she would have been less laughing, less, how do I explain it? When I was listening to her, especially in the first interrogation, I really got the feeling that it was like, first of all, it felt like she was sort of just chilling with buddies. I don't know how to explain it. I just felt like she was sitting at a bar, drinking beer, laughing at the game, laughing at bloopers. Like, that was just like her attitude to me. Like, it did not seem like it was a very serious, tragic case. Like, it just felt like it was like a joke to her, or like she was talking about a movie, or like the highlights or the scary parts in a movie. It was unreal. Like, I just kept shaking my head. I kept just like doing the whole like, are you kidding me? Did she really just say that? Did she really just laugh? I don't know. I just feel like she thought it was all a joke, like a big plan, like it wasn't real, like it didn't involve real kids, a real unborn baby, a real pregnant woman, a real wife. I feel like she just thought it was all jokes. That's the best way I can give you like my first impression. And then listening more, obviously I get to like 3 minutes and 22 seconds. I'm like, wait a second, she doesn't just think this is funny and not taking it seriously. She's lying. Anybody else? Did anybody else feel this way? Did anybody else listen and watch all of her interviews? Because I was seeking more. Like, I still want to hear more, because you guys, I just have this really bad feeling about her. So yeah, this is a solved case, but there a time for Nichol Kessinger to get in trouble? Was she knowledgeable? Was she an accessory to murder? Did she help plan this? Did she want this to happen? I have a strong feeling, a strong opinion, that if the FBI or the CBI, if they had an inclination that Nichol Kessinger motivated Chris Watts in any way, shape, or form to murder his family, I feel like she could get in a lot of trouble. I specifically say that based off of a case that recently came to fruition. So basically, the case that I'm talking about is the case of Michelle Carter, who basically, through text messages when she was a teenager, encouraged her boyfriend to commit suicide. And he was already suicidal, and basically he did end up committing suicide. So this occurred in 2014, and she was tried for involuntary manslaughter. Now, her defense team tried to argue that it was free speech. Basically, the text messages were protected under free speech. But So she was convicted in June of 2017 of involuntary manslaughter of her boyfriend through text messages. Well, her attorney obviously appealed the case, and it went to the Supreme Court. It went to the Massachusetts Supreme Court a couple days ago. So on Wednesday, the Massachusetts Supreme Court finally came back, and they ended up deciding to uphold the guilty verdict. So obviously her attorney is already talking to papers saying that he plans to petition the Supreme Court to take up her case, according to documents obtained by NBC News. This is an extremely important issue, and the Supreme Court should weigh this and what is sick says about today's technology. It's hugely important to address the issue. So basically, he's trying to make this a free speech case. And the court is saying, no, she should be held accountable for her actions because she encouraged another human being to kill themselves, and then they did. Obviously, this video is not about that case, but it does bring into question if Nichol Kessinger did in fact, A, come up with the idea of having Chris Watts take out his family, and then he did. B, Chris Watts came up with the idea and she agreed that it would be a good idea. She was accessory to it. C, did she encourage him? Did she help him plan it out? I mean, do you know what I mean? There's a ton of different things that could have happened. The reason that I have issue with Nichol Kessinger, she deleted everything that had to do with Chris Watts in her phone after he was arrested for the murder of his wife and family and kids. Now, she says she did it. We heard on the tape. She says she did it because she was done with him. She was embarrassed. She was like, if he lied to me about this, he would lie to me about anything. Like, basically, seeing his text messages made her really sad and upset. And so basically, she just did a purge of her phone so that she could disassociate herself from Chris Watts because she was done with him. And it had nothing to do with a legal angle. Because if it did, the police, the FBI, the CBI said they would find out. Well, I don't know, based off of the facts and evidence on the case, the facts that are available to the public online, I don't know if they did. I don't know if they were able to retract all of the information from her deleted text messages. I don't know. Like, after she deleted everything, and then she did come forward to the CBI or the authorities on her own accord, but I think it's because she knew that if she didn't come forward, she was going to look guilty of murder as well. I don't know though, because it's so weird. Like, there's so many different things that so many different scenarios that I can think of in my head that I feel would go with the theory that she knew he was going to do this and that she was guilty and that she should indeed pay a price for this. Okay guys, so thank you so much for watching today's video. I love you so much. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm really curious to know your thoughts, but basically, what do you think about Nichol Kessinger? Do you think she is partially responsible? Do you think she knew? Do you think they had a plan? Based off of her internet searches, like, what do you think? I'm really curious to know. This is more of like a voiceover talk kind of video, just simply because I just wanted to point some things out in her interview, and this is just the manner that I thought would be easiest to do. So yeah,